Welcome to the 2021 Golf Summer Series race number 17. Tonight, we're here at the Sawmill Speedway for the Glassdoor 250. For a final road course and new track on the schedule, we come to this fast, wide, and unique facility as 35 drivers and teams prepare for what should be a good one here tonight. But before we get started, let's take a look at your starting lineup. So in the front row, we got Reim, who has 2 Summer Series wins this year, and Exzel, Owen Miles into 60. Row 2, Kellen Baker and Random J. Row 3, Jordan Forbes and Matthew Hill. Row 4, Keith Richardson and Nelson Reeves. Row 5 is the winner from the last road course race, Movement the 5 car, and Devin Payment in 88. Row 6, Nixon and Caleb Rose. Row 7, Johnny Hernandez and John McFadden. Row 8, Matthew Burnett and Reim Vela. Row 9, we got the Dans of Dan McTrain and Dan Matteillo. Row 10, Brendan Beal and Trey Smith. Row 11, David Johnson, winner from Watkins Glen, and Kyle Salmon. Row 12, RC Gamer and Nonagon Scott. Row 13 is winner from the Roval back in May, Hold'em in the 3 car, and Exzel current point sweeter Joe T. Row 14, Ross McTrain and Jordan Stout, winner from Eldora a couple nights ago. Row 15, Brandon Carruthers and Ada Robertson. Row 16, Herbert Solomon and Dominick Payment. Row 17, Lipsy and Reim Vela. And starting last in row 18 is Ryan Wilson the 7. And now it's time for the starting command here in Sawmill.
Drivers, start your engines.
Let's take a look at the track info here for tonight's race. So I'm going to go 22 laps on this 2-mile-long road course with a lot of unique and distinct turns. And as for the weather here in Mill Valley, 55 degrees Fahrenheit and 14 mile per hour towards the southwest. So definitely one of the coldest GSS races of the season. Hope everybody watching is having a good night here so far. I just want to once again thank everyone for remaining patient these past couple races here in the Summer Series. I've honestly been really stressed making these races. But y'all watching and supporting makes it all worth it at the end. But here we go, a pace car down pit road. As for the first time ever, the Golf Summer Series is under green here in Sawmill. And already a great start there for the 60 of Owen Miles, as going into turn number 1, he will clear both the 40 and 53, is on random side-by-side with Kellen Baker for the 3rd position. Car's already 2, 3, almost 4 wide as they head towards turns 2 and 3. Like random will clear Baker into turn number 3 as the defending series champion tuck into 4th, trying to hold off the 61 of Jordan Forbes. Down the S's, many of these cars so side by side, some cases 3 wide, as Forbes is trying to hold off the 90 of Matthew Hill. Keith Richardson looking to the outside of the 90 car, while movements 3 wide of Caleb Rose and Devin Payment. Down the second group of S's, these ones are definitely a lot more sharper than the first pair, as Random J's in the grass there going into turn number 10. As it looks like he's quickly able to get back on the pavement, still holding on the 3rd. Coming down the front shoulder for the first time, Owen Miles lead the first lap here in Sawmill, as Jordan Forbes is side-by-side with Kellen Baker for the 4th position. And even on the first lap, where not really everyone's up to full speed, you can still definitely tell how fast this track is compared to other road courses. And with drivers still side-by-side going into turns 2 and 3, it just goes to show you how these drivers are already taking advantage of how wide this track is, especially compared to how wide Canadian Tire was last week. And one driver that definitely knows the way around these really fast and wide road courses is the 24 Keith Richardson, as of course one of his GSS wins last year came from Speedway. And this track here in Northern California shares very many similarities to the former that is located in Wisconsin. Richardson's currently in 7th, trying to hold off Nelson Reeves in the 16. Of course, both future drivers came inside the top 10 in points, as they're both trying to rebound after being involved in wrecks a few nights ago at Eldora. Devin Payment and Movement also trying to rebound from wrecks from Eldora as we come to lap number 2. And you saw their cars were still 3 wide towards the back of the pack, once again taking advantage of how wide this track is. Back up front to Owen Miles, and currently the gap between him and Bradley Reim is ironically 0.4 of a second. Of course, Bradley trying to become the first ever driver in Summer Series history to win 3 races after winning at Mexico City back in race 2 and Chicago and back in race number 11. In addition, Bradley is also trying to get his second road course win in the Summer Series after winning his first last summer in the streets of Toronto. And finally, a win would definitely help that 40 team tremendously in points, as he came this race 12th in points, actually gained a position in the point standings after our last race at Eldora. Looking a little bit further back towards the lead group is the 61 of Jonah Forbes, currently in 5th. The 61 team has shown a lot of speed this past month here in the Summer Series, as the 61 gets in the grass going into turn number 10, as he's now side by side with Matthew Hill for that 5th position. Tech Forbes has the advantage, will hang on, coming to lap number 4 of 22. The 61 and 90 still side by side through the front stretch, and into turn number 1, this time by Matthew Hill, the advantage over Forbes, and will clear the 61. But yeah, definitely getting the grass could potentially cost the 61 big time, but going up the hill and into turn number 2, Forbes looking to the inside of Hill. Forbes is still trying to fight back, going into turn number 3, down yeses. He looks to the outside of Hill, right behind the back bumper of that 90, but Matthew does a good job hanging on. This has been a really good battle so far between 2 Summer Series rookies. It looks like going through turn 5 and into turn number 6, Lords will tuck into 5th for now. As it looks like the rest of the field behind, all tucked in a single file line. Down the second compressed, Forbes gets a little bit loose. Hill in the grass going into turn number 10. Reeves also in the grass, as both Hill and Reeves will come back onto the pavement without losing any spots. So already 4 drivers in the first 4 laps have gone in that grass into turn number 10, but thankfully nothing catastrophic has happened so far because of that. Meanwhile, back up front, Owen Miles and Bradley Reim are sturdy leaders, and as we go on board, Bradley here, the gap last time by between him and Miles is close to 0.6 of a second. So that 60 team definitely looking really fast here so far tonight, as Joe Cohen Racing is trying to go for just their second Summer Series win. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, Bradley is looking for his 3rd Summer Series win, as he came this race 12th in points. Behind him is the 53 of Random J. As mentioned at Canadian Tire, Random does either really well or really bad at these road courses. Looks like this one so far is going to be in his really well category, as he's been inside his top 3 all day, and he's definitely going to rebound, as he came this race 8th in points after scoring his first DNF at Eldora a couple nights ago. Kellen Baker into 21 and 4th. Came this race 4th in the standings, as he's also another driver who wrecked out at Eldora a couple nights ago. Matthew Hill is still in 5th. He came this race 34th in points as the lowest rookie who's made every single race thus far. And if Hill does hang on to this 5th position, this would only be his 2nd GSS top 5 and 10 in his entire career. Jordan Forbes in 6th. As mentioned a little bit earlier, that 61 team has shown plenty of speed over the past month or so, but have not had the finishes to back it up. But thankfully for Forbes, he's just outside the top 10 in points, currently 11th. Which is definitely very impressive for that 61 team, as a little over a month ago, that team was all the way back in 31st in the standings, with only 2 top 10s. Keith Sharnson, as I mentioned, in 7th. He came this race tied for 2nd place in the point standings, after he was yet another point leader who got involved in the wreck a few nights ago at Eldora. As Hill, I think, got on the grass a little bit going into turn number 10, but once again manages to keep it straight. Nelson Reeves, so far running in the 8th position. Devin Payment currently in 9th. Of course, was the pole sitter at our last road course race at Canadian Tire. And speaking of which, there's a winner from Canadian Tire, Movement the 5 car, currently the last car inside the top 10. John McFadden in 11th for the 89. While behind him, Caleb Rose in the 95. Just got around the 14 and Danny Matteillo for the 12th position. Of course, Rose took over for Richard Herman, starting at the Firecracker 400, which so far is still his only top 10 here in the Summer Series. Aaron Frost getting around to 14, that moved Matteillo down to 13th, as he came this race 32nd in points, was actually one of the 5 drivers who missed the main event at Eldora a couple nights ago. Speaking of which, the winner from the Eldora heat race, Matthew Burnett, currently in 14th, while Johnny Hernandez in the 46th is in 15th. And of course, I talked about numerous times of how unlucky this 46 team is, as he fell down from 9th in points all the way down to 28th in points in the span of just a month or so. There's your winner from Atlanta a couple weeks ago, Nick Sand, the 52. Came to race 16th in points. as that 52 team looks to move back inside the top 10 in points. There's Kyle Salmon in the 36. Came this race 13th in points, and behind him is fellow Ford Nonagon Scott in the 86. For Scott came this race 10th in points. That 86 team's been on a roll ever since IRP or so. But unfortunately, as of right now, he's 18th, while the next closest guy in points, Jordan Forbes, is inside the top 10. And if that keeps up, Nonagon definitely has a likely chance of being one of the top 10 in points once again after this race. RC Gamer in the 42, currently in 19th. He came this race 29th in points, as this is the first time all year that 42 team has been in the top 30 in points. And there's your current points leader, Joe Teen to 17. Even though that team's been very consistent just about everywhere, if I had to pick the worst category for them, it would be road courses, as their best finish was a 9th place at the Roval back in May. Behind him in 21st is the 66 of Trey Smith, another one of the drivers who missed the main event at Eldora, as he came this race 31st in points. And despite a really strong start to kick off the year, these past couple months have been very disappointing, to say the least, for that 66 team. Speaking of disappointing, the 37 of Dan McDrain, he's currently 22nd and 25th in the points. And staying on that same subject, there's your winner from Eldora, the 11 car Jordan Stout. And so far for the driver that was tied 2nd place in points, it's been a very disappointing follow-up race, as he could potentially fall below the top 5 in points once again. Watkins going to winner David Johnson's in 24th, or the 8-car Reim is in 25th. As both of those drivers came this race below the top 20 in points. Aiden Robertson in the 1, currently in 26. And here's another major point we're not running well here so far, the 3-car Hoodlum. And despite winning the Roval in May, he has not finished inside the top 10 at a road course since. Dominick Payment in 20th, Jason Albert in 29th. Ryan Wilson round off the top 30. And there's yet another major point winner, Brendan Beal in the 22. Currently 31st after just leading the most laps at Canadian Tire on the last road course last week. Herbert Stolman currently 32nd to 67, as he came this race 17th in the point standings. And behind him is the 9 of Lipsy and the 35 of Ross McDrain, currently 19th and 33rd in the points respectively. As running off the rest of the running order is the 4-car Brittany Carruthers, your runner-up from Eldora, from both races a couple nights ago. So much like the main event winner Jordan Stout, this is not a good follow-up run at all for that 4 team. Meanwhile, lap number 10 of 22, Owen Miles is still a leader in that 60 car. Currently the gap between him and Bradley this time over 0.6 for a second, while the gap between him and Random J is a 1.5 seconds. But yeah, so far it's been a complete domination for that 60 team here tonight, as they once again go through the sharp S's of turns 7, 8, and 9. Going down the hill, Miles right on that yellow line, but manages to stay off the grass going into turns 10 and 11. Coming to lap number 11 to 22, as we're nearly halfway done here at Sawmill. As coming up next week will be one of the biggest crown jewels of the season at the Bristol Motor Speedway for the Bristol Night Race. They'll be on Saturday night at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time, barring any delays. And of course, Bristol is going to kick off a string of rather crazy and unpredictable tracks, because after Bristol will be Orlando, our 3rd super speeder race of the season. Then we take a bye week, and after the bye week, Darlington for the Southern 500 for the longest summer series race of the year. And then after that, April for another super speeder race, and then Denver and Marsville to wrap up the season. So definitely very exciting and unique tracks coming up here in the summer series calendar. Anyways, Bradley Reim still trying to chase down Owen Miles. This time the gap is ironically 0.6 for a second, while Random J's actually catch up a little bit in the 53. That time by he was 1.3 seconds behind the 60, but looks like we also lost all that time there as he got in the grass into turn number 10. Coming to the halfway point here this time by Miles, we just 11th lap here tonight. And from a couple nights ago at Eldora, Jordan Stout 11 was able to break the streak of the driver leading the most laps, failing to win the race. As up until the last race, that was a stat dating all the way back to the Firecracker 400, or fitting with the first driver falling victim to that, also being the 11 car Stout. But of course, Reim definitely wouldn't mind seeing that happening to Miles here tonight, as last time by actually getting quite a decent amount of time on the 60, as he was able to cut that lead down by approximately a 10th. Going into turn number 6, this is definitely one of the corners where you can definitely get a good run off somebody. And down these group of S's that are again much sharper than the ones that came beforehand is also another good way to gain ground on another driver. And as we come to lap number 13 of 22, it's time for another edition of Golf Summer Series Crank It Up. Lap number 16 to 22 this time by 7 laps to go here at Sawmill. And a question definitely coming up for these teams and drivers that is also familiar here in these road courses: pit stops. And if you remember our last two road course races at Watkins Glen and Canadian Tire, the drivers that ended up staying out coming to the white flag ended up winning the race. But at the same time, the winners from both those races also benefited heavily from the fact that there were 2 cautions beforehand and were able to stay field there, which is something we have not seen so far here at Sawmill, as this race has a very strong chance of being the first points-paying Summer Series race to not have a caution. So far, these drivers have done a really good job of driving safe and taking good care of their cars here tonight. Will anything change coming to 6 laps to go as Miles and Reim down pit road? Random J, Kellen Baker, most of these leaders all down pit road. So Payment and Reeves go spinning in the pit road. And as I was just mentioning cautions, it will come out for the first time here tonight at Sawmill. Unfortunately for both the 16 and 88, no damage present on those cars. So Devin and Reeves definitely did a really good job of not getting any damage there. And you see the leaders still doing their pit stops. But as for these drivers staying out, this caution couldn't come out at a worse time, as they're very likely to come down next time by, as Miles and Reim are the first 2 off. As it looks like these group of drivers took 2 tires and gas. Matthew Hill third off of pit road, while Kellen Baker still in fourth, and Random J dropped to fifth. Currently, the first driver who has yet to pit so far is the 14 of Dan Matteillo, followed by Kyle Salmon and Nixon. As we're going to take a look at the instant replay to see what caused our first caution here tonight. So all just started coming off turn number 11 as Dominick Payment and Nelson Reeves are coming down pit road. So in the pit road here, looks like Reeves maybe got a little bit loose and just came down on the 88. It sent both him and Devin spinning. But as I mentioned, there was no serious damage at all to either the 16 or 88, as we were both continuing the rest of this race as we're on board with Devin here. Yeah, Devin definitely checked up on Reeves and sent both from spinning. Thankfully, again, not making any contact with the wall or anybody else. Definitely fantastic driving for both those Chevys. Meanwhile, here come the second group of cars, as I mentioned, led by Dan Matteillo down pit road. And unless they somehow beat Miles and Reim off pit road, these guys will wind up 16th on down. So yeah, these guys just now coming in. Definitely got the short end of the stick under caution. So Matteillo's already out. These guys are doing gas and go only. No tires as the last effort to gain positions here late. As it looks like, yeah, no one's going to beat these cars still on track off pit road. These drivers on pit road will run up 16th on down. So Johnson and Salmon make contact on pit road. It was so Johnson and Vela also make contact. As it looks like Johnson and Vela are stuck on their opposite pit stalls. And I think Vela on the 8 car has some damage to that front end. As they're both thankfully able to do their pit stops. And as Johnson does a gas and go stop. It looks like the winner off pit road was the 36 of Salmon, followed by Matteillo and Nick Sands. And as a result, the lead will be handed back over to Owen Miles and Bradley Reim. And before we go back green, let's take a look at the instant replay and see what caused the wreck on pit road. So all this started as Kyle Salmon, the 36, was finishing up his pit stop, while David Johnson and Reim Villa, a couple stalls over from Salmon, are trying to come in. So there's Salmon point out, and then he hits Johnson. No serious damage here initially, then Rovero hooks Johnson into her pit stall, as they were both stuck in their opposite pit stalls. As it looks like Vale probably got the worst end of that exchange. As it looks like they're both able to correct it and get into their respective pit stalls. On board of Frank Vale here. So Salmon coming out. Looks like I don't think Salmon saw Johnson. And then at the last second, there's Johnson trying to turn it into his pit stall. While Vale is also trying to turn into hers. And much like our first incident of the day, with Dominick Payment and Nelson Reeves, both Vela and Johnson will continue the rest of the race as we got another angle of that Payment and Reeves spin. Anyways, we're just about ready to restart this race with only 4 laps to go. This should probably be the finish of this race unless if another caution were to come out. Currently, the top 3 is Owen Miles in the 60, followed by Brad Reim in the 40, and Matthew Hill in the 90. That 60 car has led every single lap here so far tonight. Will it continue, or will someone else pass him for the win? Here we go. Pace car down pit road. As we're back on the green here in Sawmill, only 4 laps to go. And once again, a great restart for Owen Miles into turn number 1, as Reim and Hill are side by side for second. Off for 1 and down the straightaway, Matthew Hill is now up to second at 90. Into turn number 2, Baker and Random now side by side for 4th position. Baker has the advantage as now Reim looks to the inside of Hill once again for second. Off for turn number 3, down these first group of S's, Hill still has the advantage. But Reim is still fighting back on the outside, using up all of the track. Oh, Hill got a little bit loose going into turn number 5 as Brad Reim will take advantage and will go back up to second place. Down turn number 6, here comes Baker putting pressure on Matthew Hill. Going to the much sharper S's, Hill is trying to hold off the 21. But Baker looks to the outside into turns 10 and 11. Baker gaining ground. But Hill is still trying to hang on, coming off turn number 11, and coming to 3 laps to go here at Sawmill. Down the front stretch, Baker and Hill still side by side, but in the 1, Matthew Hill with the advantage and will clear Kellen Baker for 3rd. Definitely a really impressive job for the rookie of Matthew Hill to hold off the defending series champion. Definitely something you don't see every day here in the Summer Series. But while those battles for positions were going on, Owen Miles is once again pulled away from the rest of the field, back up to an over 0.6 of a second lead over Reim. But into turn number 5, Miles with a great entry as both him and Bradley will pull away from the rest of the field. Off of turn number 6, the running order once again in the single file formation as they go through the much sharper S's of turn 7, 8, and 9. Into turn number 10, Miles is going to pull even further from the rest of the field, while Matthew Hill is going to get even more ground on Reim. This time by 2 laps to go here at Sawmill. Baker once again will get to the outside of Hill for 3rd, as now Caleb Rose and John McFadden are side by side for 9th. McFadden trying to maintain that position, as going into this race, he was the only Pontiac below the top 10 in points. But regardless, a very solid showing for that 89 team here tonight. And there you see well behind the pace are the cars that pitted under caution. What about Dan Matteillo and Nick Sand? And if you remember, these drivers below the top 15 on pit road just got gas and go only versus the drivers in the top 15 got 2 tires and gas. And you can just see how much the difference is with just only 2 tires. Meanwhile, back up front once again, so we're on board Bradley Reim. Last time by, the gap was back up this over 0.6 of a second. And you can definitely imagine Reim is trying just about everything he can to gain as much ground as possible on Miles with very little time remaining. And ooh, that was a great entrance into turn number 10 there for Bradley Reim. Is he able to take advantage of that run? But this time by, white flags in the air. 1 lap to go here at Sawmill. That time by, the gap between Miles and Reim was a little over half a second, but time is quicker running out for Reim and the rest of the field to catch up. And you see Baker once again trying to go for 3rd on Matthew Hill. This time he looked to the inside of that 90 car as they go through turns 2 and 3 for the final time. Down these first group of S's for the final time, Miles is continuing to pull away from Reim. Through turns 5 and 6, Miles continuing to maintain his gap over Reim. Owen Miles has been present in every single Random J Series race ever, but during all of that time, has never finished first. But looks like that's going to change as he goes through turns 10 and 11 for the final time. And coming off turn number 11, Owen Miles will see the checkered flag for his first Summer Series win here at Sawmill. Congratulations to Owen Miles and Jacone Racing, the third winners tonight here at Sawmill, as this will be Jacone Racing's 2nd win on a road course as well as overall here in the Summer Series. And also Owen Miles will join Bradley Reim and Johnny Hernandez as drivers that led every single lap in the race this year. Well, let's take a look at the finishing results and points changed after the night's race. So here we go. Owen Miles finishes first as becomes the 10th different first-time winner this year. So definitely lots of parity so far here in the Summer Series season. And also since Miles led every single lap, that'll be maximum points for the 60 team here tonight. Bradley Reim finishes 2nd for his 2nd straight top 10 finish. Matthew Hill finishes 3rd. Definitely a great drive for tonight for that 90 team. Kellen Baker finishes 4th from Random J, who run off the top 5 in the 53. While Random's teammate Keisha Arnson finished 6th. So definitely Baker, Random J, and Keisha Arnson definitely got really good finishes here tonight. And that's definitely going to help him out here in the point standings coming up shortly. Jordan Forbes gets his 3rd straight top 10 into 61. While Nelson Reeves will finish 8th into 16. John McFadden finishes 9th, making it 3 out of the 41 Indy drivers to finish inside the top 10. And rounding up the top 10 is the 95 for Caleb Rose, as he will get his 2nd Summer Series top 10. And now for the points lead after race number 17, only 6 races left to go here in the Summer Series season, and Keisha Arnson will take back the points lead over Joe T by a single point. And of course, if you remember going into Atlanta a couple races ago, both Joe T and Richardson were tied in the point standings. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen in that gap as you go into another SMI and Crown Jewel. But don't look now, 3rd place, Kellen Baker is only 5 points behind Richardson. And if you recall from Bristol last year, Baker was able to take advantage of Matteillo's misfortunes, who of course came into that race last year as the point leader. Question is, will we see Baker and history repeat itself here again next week? Nelson Reeves up to 4th in the standings by 20, while Random J is back inside the top 5 in points by 24. Meanwhile, Random's teammate Jordan Stout will fall below the top 5 in points once again, down to 6th by 29, while 7th on down are all in a line when it comes to being behind in points, as Hold'em in the 3 car is still in 7th by 41 this time, Brad Reim up to 8th in points, bottom by 42. Jordan Ford's back is at the top 10 in points, bottom by 43. Where Brendan Beal is all the way down to 10th, bottom by 44. As we're rounding off the top 10 in standings. So next up, race number 18 will be one of the biggest crown jewels as well as perhaps one of the most important races of the season thus far, the Sharpie Night Race at the Bristol Motor Speedway. The Albert's channel Saturday night at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. I mean, for God's sakes, it's Bristol. It's going to be a good race. Definitely one you don't want to miss. But as always, y'all, thank you guys for watching this race. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.